and the 2022 Republican House District 10, the Senate District 10 debate, hosted by the Benton County GOP. Thanks to those guys for flipping the bill. There will be an opportunity to see this after the fact if you want to watch it on the Facebook page of the Benton County Grand Old Party, the Republican Party. So you can check that out on their Facebook page. Not being streamed live, but almost as good. So our next debate is for Senate, and I'll introduce the three candidates. I asked them all to give me a little blurb about themselves so we can get to know them even before we know them. So this will be our first individual, Jim Newberger. Jim, the compass of Jim's life is his faith in our Lord Jesus Christ. Jim is a retired paramedic where he worked for 30 years in North Minneapolis, and that's saying something. He served in the Minnesota House of Representatives for 6 years. Jim ran for U.S. Senate in 2018 against Amy Klobuchar. Well, we know who won that one. Since then, Jim has been a trucker and now a manager for a local rental company, and he lives in Beck with his wife, Michelle. He's a proven conservative. Jim's running because he knows he can make a difference from day one. Jim hopes to earn your support. Ladies and gentlemen, our first candidate for Senate, Jim Newberger. Jim, thanks so much. It's a pleasure to read your resume.
Thank you.
Our next candidate is former Mille Lacs County Sheriff Brent Lindgren. And Brent says, I'm a 50-year resident, of the district, having been raised in Morrison County, living in Mille Lacs for work, having lived in the district for 50 years. He understands the area and the people of the district. Having served Mille Lacs County for 30 years as a sheriff, dare instructor, civil defense director, welfare fraud investigator, and criminal investigator, all before being elected sheriff of Mille Lacs County in 2002, served for 16 years and retired from that position in 2019. Continues to have time for his passion to further serve communities in St. Paul and the Senate. He also works for the Department of Homeland Security, Transportation Secretary Administration, securing the freedom of movement of people and commerce in Crow Wing County at the Brainerd International Airport. Yeah, don't you know? Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Brent Lindgren. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to give everybody a chance to speak for 2 minutes, but we're going to introduce our last candidate for Senate, and that's Nathan. Is it Wesenberg or Wesenberg?
No.
Wesenberg.
Which one is it Wesenberg?
That's closer. Wesenberg.
Wesenberg,
Yeah.
okay. Nathan W. No, Nathan Wesenberg. Born and raised in Little Falls, just like a lucky Lindy, and still lives there with his wife, Dr. Jennifer Wesenberg, and 3 girls. Grew up in St. Cloud area with his father in Sauk Rapids, son of Elmer and Bernie. Nathan has a Bachelor of Science in Wildlife Biology and done some research at Camp Ripley involving deer, bear, wolves, bat, golden eagles, and the list goes on and on and on till the break of dawn. Having worked with and for the government, he's been seen firsthand of the inefficiencies that occur in our government. He stands for the Constitution and the truth of doing what's right because it's the right thing to do. He enjoys hunting, fishing, being outdoors, hard work, and spending time with his family. I can relate to that. I have 2 of my members right here right now, my daughter and my son. He'll be the voice of the people. The government is continually trying to muddy the truth and represent itself and not the people. Nathan Wesenberg, welcome. Wesenberg. I can't tell you how many times I mispronounced Arnold Schwarzenegger's name the first time I met him. And I have a black eye to prove it. So, each candidate has 2 minutes to talk. So we'll start with that. Remember our lovely and talented timer that we have helping out with tonight. We're going to make sure that you know the rules for that. Carol Rupar is doing that. So once again, The timer will be prominently displayed. It's color-coded. Orange means you have 30 seconds, yellow means you have 15. Red means run for the hills. Your time is done. Okay? So, with no further ado, and I just love saying that, Jim Newberger, give us your 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. I brought my notes. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Newberger. How are you doing this evening? Oh, that was lame. I always do this. How are you doing? Good. All right. There we go. I'm Jim Newberger, and I'm running for the state senate. I'm really excited about this. First and foremost, I am a Christian man. My faith in Jesus Christ is the most important thing in my life, period. I'm married. The second and most important thing in my life is my best friend, Michelle. She's put up with me for 31 years. We have 3 grown daughters. One's married, one's getting married on Sunday, next Sunday, and then one better get married. And I'm also actively lobbying for grandkids, so anyone that knows, I'll talk to you later how to do that. I'm a proven conservative. Most of you know me. Some of you even voted for me once or twice or 3 times. Some of you voted for me 4 times when I ran against Amy Klobuchar. But I'm a proven conservative, 100% pro-life. I have a proven track record. Every time I ran, I was endorsed by the MCCL. I took 22 votes for life. I'm also a proven supporter of the Second Amendment. I've been endorsed by the NRA 3 times. I have an A rating with them. And as many of you know, I changed the law. In 2016, I wrote a law that simply said that the government cannot take your legally and lawfully owned firearms during a declared state of emergencies. We had one of those recently. Remember 12 days? Turned into 434. Walls and Company wanted to be like California and do that. My law stopped them. I'm very proud of that. I also have a Conservative Excellence Award from CPAC, and I was also a Best Friend of the Taxpayer Award. I have that as well. But folks, we have challenges that are approaching us. Things that are coming. Our world is changing so fast. I bring a wealth of experience and a proven track record. From day one, I can walk into that office and be effective. I'm locked, I'm loaded, I'm ready to go for this Senate district. This world is changing too fast. I have a lot to share with you tonight. I want to thank you for being here, and thank you.
Thank you. Brent, can we have your 2 minutes, please?
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Brent Lindgren, and some of you know me from Mille Lacs County, where I spent 31 years in law enforcement, the last 16 as the sheriff there. Some of you may have voted for me, some of you may have voted for somebody else, and that's okay. Being in an elected office, that's assumed, but you're not re-elected 4 times as the sheriff of a county unless you're productive and you're listening to the needs of the community in which you serve. That's what always kept me going. I did something kind of unique. I set up in Mille Lacs County a sheriff's advisory board, and I took 2 township officials from every township throughout the entire county, and I asked them to be my sheriff's advisory board. And so I was guided every step of the way by what the community wanted me to do. I passed that on to the next sheriff. After 31 years in law enforcement, I wasn't quite done yet. I took 2 days off and went back to work for Homeland Security. I'm now 58 years old, and I find myself watching television and yelling at the television more than I ever did. That's mainstream media. Mainstream media has got the best of me, and I'm sure it has a lot of you. You're upset with the way things are going, and you feel like you don't have any control. Well, you do. When I was yelling at the television, my wife said, well, do something about it. Here I am. At 58 years old, I've got about 10 years left to go. This Senate seat came up as an open district. I wouldn't be running for this Senate seat if there was an incumbent Republican in it. Since it is an open seat, that seat belongs to all of you. There is no incumbent. We are all equal up here, and I don't look at this as a debate. I look at it as a forum for you to get to know who you think is your next electable individual that you can put in the Senate and have trust in them. My time is up. I gotta pass.
Thank you very much, Brent. Nathan, you have 2 minutes to share your story with all of us here.
Thank you. My name is Nathan Wesenberg. As like he said before, I come from Little Falls, and you know, our world isn't the same world that I grew up in right now, and it feels like we're going downhill pretty fast. And I'm doing this because of my kids here, and I want a better future for my kids than what I feel like they might get if we don't stand up and do something right now. This last fall, I asked my legislature, my House rep actually, what we could do right now to do something to change what's going on, and he said we need to hopefully elect a Republican governor next fall, so that would have been this coming November. Well, that was the wrong answer, because we need to do something right now. So I started getting people together in my community, and we meet every other week, and we're making change right now. We're making things happen in my community. We've got CNN taken out of our schools. We've got masks kept from being put back on our kids, and that started in Morrison County, Little Falls, and that's grown to counties in Todd, Crow Wing, Benton, other towns around the area. People are calling me. I had someone get a hold of me actually from Foley last night, wondering how they could get rid of CNN from this school right here, so I tried to help her with that. So that's what I want to do. I want to help people, and I'm fighting right now because we can do it, but if I get in the Senate, I'm going to keep fighting. And that's just who I am. We need to call out what we see, and we need to take charge. I used to work for the government, as he said, and when I worked for the DNR, I was told you can't speak out against your worker because they don't like it. Well, they don't, if they're not letting me say something, we work for you. The government works for you. So when I see something wrong happening, it's for you, not for me, and that's what we need to do. So, thank you.
First question is going to be to you, Jim. I'm just going to go right down the line because that's easiest for me to remember. Governor Walz wants to refund roughly 20% of almost $10 billion in Minnesota's surplus. We have a state amendment that says we have a balanced budget. We balance the budget. Any money over that is overtaxed money. So he wants to give 20% of that roughly back to individuals in Walz checks. Approximately 500 for single folks earning up to 165,000, and then couples up to 250, about 1,000. So, question for you is, what is your plan for this overtaxation budget taxpayer surplus?
Thank you for that question. I was hoping I would get that. First and foremost, we have to not call it a Walz check, because there's going to be all kinds of people that are going to say, ooh, Governor Walz gave me this money. And you know, what are they going to do in response? They're going to vote for him. You're simply labeling it Walz checks to buy votes from people primarily in the metro. Number two, this surplus of close to $10 billion, that's your money. If you go to Walmart and you buy $100 worth of groceries and they charge you $150, and you're standing there at the register, and you say, you overcharged me $50. Well, the cashier's gonna say, oh, I don't have the authority to give you a refund, go to the service counter. You would. You'd go to the service counter, and you'd say, hey, here's my receipt, you just overcharged me $50. I want my money back. And by rights, you should get it. It's the same principle, folks. The state government overtaxed us. Over 50% of our tax revenues that come into the state are from your income tax. Your income tax. I am a firm supporter in getting rid of that. This budget surplus needs to go back to you. Now, we live in a real world. We have a Republican, right now we have a Republican Senate, and we have no control over what Walz is doing. If we can't get that, then what? Because everyone can get up here and say, well, it's your money, give it back, right? Well, what if you can't do it? What if Walz says no? He's the governor, he could still do that. Then what we do is we push to say, you know what? If you really want this bonding bill, this capital investment bill, that's money we borrow. Why don't we use this budget surplus for capital investment instead? Here's a radical idea. Pay for something as you need it, instead of borrowing it against our future. Our state is that close to going broke. We are right behind Illinois, we are right behind California, we are right behind New York. Even with a balanced budget amendment, I've watched the feeding frenzy for 6 straight years down in St. Paul. We can do better. And as your next state senator, I will do better for you because I have to answer for you. And I don't know about you, but I get huge blood pressure and indigestion over watching how this is going down. Watching what they're doing with your money. We can do better, and we will. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. Brent, this question's for you. And this is right up your alley, my friend. Public safety is in a more recent survey, the #1 issue in Minnesota right now. 30-year highs for violent crime in Minnesota. Carjackings in the metro occurs almost every day, up 60% since 2020, 500% since 2019. And want to know what your plan is to keep private citizens safe from crime and fix the police officer deficit that's occurred in law enforcement in cities and townships in the last 2 years. What is your plan to keep Minnesotans safe in this district and in the state?
First of all, let me just say, everything that Jim just said on his question, I think all three of us would say the same thing up here. On to the next question with regard to law enforcement. Having spent 31 years in law enforcement, I think I have a little bit of an idea what it takes to do the job. You have prosecutors that I watched say, we're not going to prosecute carjackings. That was Hennepin County that said that, and what happened after that? Our carjacking started to go up. If we tell people that we're not going to do anything about it, that we're just going to cite them and release them and let them go, well, now you create a problem. That's what's happened down in the Twin Cities area. When I was sheriff, we had a high crime county. Mille Lacs County was a very high crime county, and very high crime in certain areas of the county. You have to have law enforcement that's active and engaged in the community. One of the things that we did with deputies is we brought deputies into our county and we had them live in the area that they worked. People knew them. They knew them by their name. They would stop at their house, have a conversation with them. They would let them know what they thought about what was going on in their community. Setting up that sheriff's advisory board, that was township officials telling me that what was going on and what we could do to address it. What we have to do in the statewide effort is we have to restore integrity in law enforcement. Many of the things that have happened over the last 2 years have really brought down the integrity of law enforcement. When I was the sheriff, I started to see the decline in the quality and caliber of the candidates that were coming forward. Who wants to go into this profession now? It's very difficult to do recruiting. I saw poor candidates coming forward, so I thought I'd do something about it. I went to Minnesota West community colleges and I said, I'll volunteer to teach your law enforcement skills course. I want quality people coming out of your program that I can recruit and I can hire. So you make a difference by getting engaged. You make a difference by doing something about it, not just sitting back and allowing it to happen. Or saying, we're not going to do anything about it, we're just going to cite them and release them. You see prosecutors, you see the Senate, as of late, talking about holding prosecutors accountable for not prosecuting the cases that come to them. Well, there's a concept. Let's prosecute a case when it comes to us. Let's have tough prosecutors. Let's not prosecute by race, let's not prosecute by other means, and let's not let people go. Let's prosecute what comes across our desk and be strong and support our law enforcement. It is a proud profession. We should be proud of our police officers and our deputies that work for us every day. And here in Benton County, I have one of my nephews that is a deputy sheriff for Benton County. I'm very concerned about his future and what goes on, and that's why I want to serve in the Minnesota Senate. I also want to be assigned to certain committees that can bring my expertise to that area to make things better. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. And just for the candidates, nothing in particular, but please try and pay attention to the time signals when they're sent to you.
She needs a bigger red flag.
What if she had cherries on top of her
Sorry
head?
about that.
She put flashers on. Would that help? Just asking.
Let's put red lights on.
Absolutely. All right. Next question is for you, Nathan. I think you'll like this, I hope you will. I'd like you to define the word woman, then share if you believe critical race theory is a part of our public education in Minnesota right now, either overtly or covertly. What's your opinion on the liberal agenda of making climate change theories and gender race sensitivity a bigger part of our students' curriculum than science, technology, reading, and mathematics, the STEM courses? And then finally, are you in favor of school choice for K through 12 students?
Would you like to come up here so I can show people what a woman looks like? I am a biologist, and women have 2 X chromosomes. And you know, when you are born, you're a man or a woman. So you define a man or a woman as the characteristics that we know. I think there is lots of things being introduced to our schools that our school system says aren't there, but they are there, and they don't tell you about it. In Morrison County, in that area, we have Sourcewell, and you go to their website, and right there, so Sourcewell is used by schools to teach teachers if they so choose to use that program. I'll just go that far with that. And on their website, it says we have to quit using offensive terms like mom and dad and boy and girl, and then it says we have to stop being racist. And like 4 paragraphs later, it says we have to try to get rid of whiteness. So that's what is in our area, and that's what we have to quit using. And it's here. So they might tell you CRT isn't in our schools, but it's here, but it's just not called that. I went to St. Cloud State 20 years ago, and I had to take a minority studies class. My teacher told me that I was a racist because I was white and a male. And basically all females that were white were racist also. It changed. It was interesting though. There was 2 black females in that class at that time that turned her in for being racist, and she had to stop teaching how she was teaching. Now that was 20 years ago, and that happened for a week, and then she had to stop. But after we got out of class, that continues, and that's where this is coming from. It's been going on for that long, and then it's a stop. Sorry, when you were talking about climate change, or?
I just wanted to know what you thought about teaching those courses.
Oh yeah, we should be teaching those courses. We need to stick to science, math. We need to stick to what we know. We can't be teaching this philosophy. It's got to go. It's wrong. So, and we can do that by legislation.
Did you have an opinion on school choice?
School choice, yes. The money should follow kids. If you don't want to go to a public school, then you want to use that money in a private school or for homeschooling, that money should follow the children around.
Great. A quick lightning round, just raise of hands. The other candidates, raise your hand if you're for school choice or not for school choice? You are? Okay. And all 3 candidates, if you could raise your hand. New law is being proposed for legal recreational marijuana. Raise your hand if you're for that or if you're against it. If you're for it, okay. Are not for it?
Hands down.
Legalize marijuana for recreational use, for or against? Yes. Against? Okay. Awesome. There's new laws being proposed for legalized sports betting on our mobile devices and at Native American casinos. Are you for or against that? Just raise your hand if you're for it. All right. How about, are you for raising the age of gambling consent from age 18 to 21?
Oh, to 21?
18 to 21.
We're raising it from 18 to 21.
There's a bill in the legislature right now to raise it from age 18.
I think you're an adult at 18. You could just make that decision, so you could gamble at 18.
So you're not in favor of raising?
No.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. So back to you, Jim. Sorry, I kind of wanted to go through some topics that we want to make sure that sort of a yes or no type of a thing. This I think is something pretty important. We talked about this previously. COVID-19, according to the Minnesota Department of Health, and that's supposed to be who's charged to get this information, has infected 1.4 million Minnesotans out of the 5.5 that live here during the pandemic. And from March 2020 until now, has been considered responsible for the deaths of 12,580 Minnesotans. What did we get right as a state, and what did we get wrong during the pandemic? You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, well,
You don't have to use it all, but
where do we start? First of all, my wife is the COVID coordinator. She got stuck with that job, and for 2 years I had the COVID report because she's the one that had to sit in front of all of the state reports day after day and regurgitate it back to me. And I will tell you right now, the whole COVID-19 crisis was completely botched. The way that that was handled, it wasn't natural science, it was political science, because it was all attached to money. There was about $30,000 approximately that would go to every hospital if they said you died of COVID. But wait a minute, this guy shot himself in the head. Yeah, but he sneezed before he did it, right? COVID, they got $30,000. There's all kinds of money that was attached to that. Follow the money, folks. That's what it was really about. And I will say one thing. What has the number one attributable factor to stopping the COVID crisis right now? What made it go away? Vladimir Putin. Seriously, the minute that war started, the press just went whoop like that, and that's all they're focusing on. But I can guarantee you, folks, there's another variant of COVID coming. I promise you. And it's coming in September, and it's going to be called the election variant. You watch. Walls and company, they are going to slap down hard, and they're going to do everything they can to manipulate the system to keep you home and to rig the whole election because they want power. They love to rule by edict. We have to stop the executive powers as they currently exist.
Yes.
Because if we do not, having to choose between a vaccine and your job, or a vaccine and being in the military, or a vaccine and having your business is so fundamentally wrong, we can't even begin to imagine, because what's next? If they're going to do that, what's next? And we need state senators who are going to stand up and say, no. I'm saying no now, and I will say no then. And just watch, the election variant's coming.
Thank you very much for your answer. Brent, same question. COVID-19, coronavirus, the last 2 years, what did we as a state get right, and what as a state did we get wrong?
Well, what did we get right? That's a short dilemma. I think what we got right is we learned that we need to challenge and question what's occurring. If we got anything right, that's what we got right. We need to challenge it, we need to question it, we need to study it. We don't sit back and just accept it for what it is. So if there is something that we got right, that's what we got right. What we got wrong is shutting down our economy. Hugely, we got that wrong. We shut our economy down before it even came. Businesses closed, people folded up shops. You go down Main Street in any small town under 1,000 people in rural Minnesota, and it looks like a ghost town. To this day, it looks like a ghost town. Same thing in Wisconsin. Oh, that's right. Democratic leadership there too. We got that wrong. All of our businesses hurt from that, and they can't necessarily get going again. They got COVID money. When the money came, we learned that there's a problem when money shows up. When money shows up, the problems don't go away, the problems get worse. Jim said, follow the money. I think that's accurate. If we were to follow the money, we would see exactly where we went wrong, because a lot of things were attributed to that. And then the mistrust of all of our elected folks came along as well. Many of you are disenfranchised from what happened over the last 2 years with COVID. We don't trust what took place. And we did learn one other good thing about emergency powers. They can be abused. And so with those in leadership, we need to question those individuals that have power, that want to maintain power, that want to take control of things. I'm still, oh, I got the stop sign again. All right, so I will stop.
It's always good for police officers to stop at stop signs. We notice. In all fun. Nathan, same question for you, my friend. 2020, March of 2020 to March of 2022, what did we get right as a state? What did we get wrong regarding the coronavirus?
So as a biologist, I started doing research as soon as I saw COVID-19 things start to happen in March of 2020. 11 years ago, whenever H1N1 happened, the government said that that spread worldwide in like 3 months. So before we did one thing with COVID, it had already spread worldwide. So now we got COVID everywhere, and how many months was it before there was mask mandates? So now everybody's been infected, and now they're trying to play, catch up to make it seem like we did something. So I'm not saying I don't believe in COVID or anything like that, but COVID's here. And my wife being a doctor, I saw and got to see firsthand every day and experience what was going on with COVID. Like they said, it's power and money. We could not prescribe hydroxychloroquine because it was too cheap and it was effective. If I were in the Senate, I would be fighting to make sure that happens, and I wouldn't shut up. In 2020, in the regular session, senators did not stand up and say we shouldn't have these mandates. They did it after the regular session was over, but they should have stood up and said, no, right now, you have to stand up and stop it. When something like that is happening, we need to shut it down. My wife just quit her job at Central Care 3 weeks ago because they do not let her treat people like they should be treated. She's signing so people didn't have to, exemptions, there you go, thank you, I won't say mandates. She's signing exemptions so people didn't have to get shots, and so people didn't have to wear masks to go to work. No, we shouldn't have to be doing that, but that's what we care about, is what's right. So she quit there, we're gonna figure out what we need to do, but these big corporate hospitals don't care about you, it's money and power, and that's all that they want, and we can't be doing that. It's wrong, and that's what COVID was all about, is power and money, and trying to take control, and it's all mind control, and the government wants to take over and manipulate you.
Thank you very much for your answer, Nathan. All right, back to you, Jim. And this will be a question that you'll all get asked, if you don't mind. We do have a $10 billion surplus right now, or almost $10 billion surplus. If you're elected senator, do we need to change Minnesota's tax code? What and how would you do it? Social Security payments, state tax, yes or no? Decrease state income tax, yes or no? You have 2 minutes.
Great question, and once again, thank you for that. I have in the past supported eliminating Social Security tax. That is a fundamental problem that we have. You are double taxed. There's about 5 states in the nation right now that do that. And I can remember when I was a state representative, an elderly woman from Benton County called me in tears. Jim, I can't afford to live here. I'm on Social Security and they're taxing me. I have to move. I don't have a choice. Can you help me? Folks, I don't cry. I did that time. And it still affects me. I know what it's doing to people. I've been there with people in the past. Right now, a good friend of mine, Steve Draskowski, he was the tax lead when we were in the majority in the House, is offering the Draskowski bill. You should look into it. It completely overhauls the tax system. It gets rid of the Social Security tax. It gets rid of the state income tax. It gets rid of the sales tax, and it institutes a fair tax instead. Steve Draskowski is one of the biggest budget hawks you'll ever meet, and his bill looks good. And I would author that. I would be a co-author, or actually I would author that in the Senate. Because you have to have a House version and you have to have a Senate version, and they both have to move through the system, otherwise it doesn't work. But our tax system is absolutely repulsive. It is right there with California, it is right there with New York, and that's why we are losing our job creators. That's why we are losing people to retirement. Where are they going? If they can't afford to go to Florida, they go to South Dakota. We can change this. But number one, we've got to get rid of the Social Security tax. We arm wrestled with Dayton time and time again, but he is completely clueless. He's a silver-spooned person. He lives off a trust fund. You know where Dayton's money's kept? It's kept in a trust fund in South Dakota. There is one tax bill that I would sign on to, just one. And it says anyone that makes their living off trust funds from South Dakota will have to pay top-tier income tax on it. That's the only bill that I would ever support. Thank you.
It's a good thing you're not a police officer because you missed the stop sign. Brent, same question for you, my friend. We have a surplus. Do we need to change Minnesota's tax code? And what and how would you do that?
Well, I think the current overtax of this year is 9.2, some arguably say $10 billion. That's a pretty big number. And that is our taxes. My wife and I sat down this afternoon and we finalized our taxes. And I wrote out a check and said, and I'm thinking about that in the reality of this whole thing. Is that going to be resolved this year, and are you going to get a Walls check back? I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that's going to be stopped. And I think what's going to happen is, I think it's going to go into the next legislative session. I think you're going to see 2023, and that's why it's pretty important that you elect your representatives here Republican, and you elect your senators Republican, and your governor Republican, because next year is the year that all of this reform can start to take place. With regard to Social Security, I'm a firm believer in Social Security tax being eliminated, not just reduced, eliminated. If you're on Social Security and that's your primary source of income, and you've got to pay tax on that income, all you're doing is reducing your income. That's not fair to our relatives. That's not how this was set up. As Jim said, he thinks it's 1 in 5. I think it's 1 in 6. We're the 1 in 6 states that still taxes Social Security. That needs to go away. Next year, when the House is controlled and the Senate is controlled and we have a Republican governor, I think you're going to see this reform take place, and I want to be a part of that as it moves forward. Not that I want to be a part of making the sausage on how this all works out, because that gets pretty ugly, but it needs to be reformed, it needs to be looked at, and what we need to do is eliminate the excess taxes that we have to pay. When we have $10 billion, that means we overpaid $10 billion. And then you get the Me Too's that come along. I'm going to finish my sentence. The Me Too's come along then when there's a surplus, right? And they all want a piece of that chunk of money. And then it just compounds our problem, because it'll get given away, given away, given away. If you're overtaxed, it needs to come back to you, and that's what we're going to do next year.
Thank you for your answer, Brent. I'd like to take a second in the middle of what we're doing right now to let you have a chance to express yourself on how well these guys are doing right now. Can we give these guys a round of applause? All right, not to be repetitive, but I think this is a very important topic. Nathan, our Minnesota tax code, what and how would you change it? What would you do to make it better?
Well, we have to start by not spending so much money and making bills to spend money. We need to shrink the government. There's jobs in the government that probably don't need to exist. We don't need 3 people doing the same job. So if one person can do it, they should be able to do it. And we have to start by hiring people that are qualified to do the job, not based on race or color or any of that. It's qualifications. If you're a potato and you're the best qualified, you get the job, period. So that's where we start by. I see this working for the government. We hire people that aren't qualified. So if you're hiring unqualified people that don't know how to spend the money correctly, it's just a trickle-down effect. So we need to hire people that are qualified. Then we need to quit spending the money that we don't have. And we need to lower taxes, obviously. We can't be taxing Social Security. Like they said, I'm at the end, and we all said we have to lower taxes. But that's part of the way to do it. And we can't be just throwing our money away. We have to spend it wisely. So, thank you.
Thank you. In our state, gentlemen, we have a legislature that's bicameral. I'm sure most of you already know that, but we have a Senate and a House, and we have a executive branch, our governor. Many people have said the only way that Minnesota is going to keep from going off the cliff this coming year is to change. We have a Republican Senate, to change the House to be Republican, but we also need to change the executive branch, the governor. There are 7 candidates running for governor right now. As a senator, you have a little bit more weight than just by numbers than other members of Congress. Who would you want to be your governor, and what qualities does that individual have that make you make that choice? And I'm going to ask you, Jim, to say first.
Me. I will say this. Take any one of them, all seven. Put them in a bag, give it a shake. Anyone you pull out is going to be light years ahead of Tim Walz. Light years ahead. This state, I'm going to support the endorsed candidate. Many of you know that I will not be able to be a state delegate. I'm not going to be able to be one. So I don't have a dog in this fight right now. I want a Republican governor. I don't care which one it is. Put your hand in the bag and pull one out. Because that's what this state needs. When you listen to the three of us talk, we have a lot in common. And there's a lot in common with the governor candidates. But what the most important thing is that Tim Walz is out of that office. He has to go, period. And I want to dive back really fast into that tax question. Right now, what a lot of people don't understand what's going on is that Democrats see blood in the water. They understand that they're most likely going to lose their majority in the House, especially this coming season. So what they're doing is they're populating all of these tax bills and all of these spending bills, and they have appropriations that go into things that are called tails. Are any of you familiar with that? So let's say we appropriate money for a certain specific biennium for something, but then they appropriate additional money to go into bienniums after that, to keep things going on in perpetuity. Right now, the Democrats know that they're going to lose their majorities, and they want all of these programs. How are we going to fund these programs? They are loading money into the tails right now, because once they lose that majority, that money is going to be in there. And as your next state senator, I'm going to cut off tails. I know how to find them, I know how to cut them off, and if we want to go after this excessive spending, Democrats are smart, they understand this game. We got to be smarter than them. Cut off their tails, and we can eliminate a lot of that spending and a lot of that inbred Democrat socialist control that they have over the big state agencies. Cut off their tails.
Thank you very much, Jim. And that was a very politically correct kind of an answer when it came to choosing. But I'm going to ask you, Brent, to same question. Qualifications for governor, and is there a candidate that you care to endorse or support this evening for that office?
Like I said to you before, the offices that are open are yours to make. All of you are here tonight because you want to be educated, you want to learn about the candidates, you want to be informed, and you want to make the best decision that you can. I'm not going to disagree with Jim. I think that any one of the candidates we can all work with, the Republican candidates. I would agree that it doesn't make a bit of difference for me who that is. I will have to make my decision as well. I don't think it's our place as candidates for Senate to recommend or endorse anyone. I'm here recommending myself, right? And that's who I represent. You are here to become informed, become educated, and make the right decision on who is going to be the electable candidate that you can put in the governor's office that we can all work with. I think the same is true for this office. Here is the Senate District 10. You have to make an informed decision about who is your electable candidate that you can trust and put in office that is going to work for you and do the best job that they can moving forward. I believe that that's me, and I will work as hard for you as a Minnesota Senator, as I did as when I was sheriff. That's dedication, that's commitment, and that's moving things forward with you advising me, because this is your office. Don't ever forget that. All elected people serve you. It's your elected office. Thank you.
Great reminder, and thank you for your answer, Brent. Finally, Nathan, I'm going to ask you, is there a candidate, knowing that in order to make true change, we need to have the executive branch be changed in the state of Minnesota? Is there a candidate that you think is most electable and somebody that you could feel comfortable endorsing?
When I speak to people one-on-one, I might say who I prefer, but I tell people they need to listen to the candidates and make an educated decision on what they hear, and they need to research all the candidates. I personally believe that I don't like people who have been in the government for a long time because you don't know what ties they have to other people. You don't know who's giving them money and who they might be doing favors for. So if lobbyists are giving a certain candidate money, maybe they're working for them more than they're working for you. So that's just something to look at. So if there's people out there that are fighting and want change and don't have someone else's hands in their pockets and they're sharing things, maybe that's someone I'm looking at. But you need to make the informed decision based on what you believe in, and that's what I would say. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. All very good answers. Have a couple more minutes for some questions for you individually. Jim, relating to our district, property rights is a hot issue now with county commissioners. Do you believe homeowners should have a right to turn their home or their cabin into an Airbnb rental?
Yes, I support that, and it's your home, it's your property, and it should be able to be used as you see fit. There's another issue I'm going to take my time on one too, because I know we're not going to get into this, and I really want to dive into this deep. In 2016, the DNR came up to our farmers, our irrigators, and they said, we're going to start controlling how much water you can pull out of the ground to water your crops. We're going to come down on you hard, and they did. They are absolutely squeezing our irrigators to death. Earlier this week, I took up that fight. I partnered with the irrigators for 6 years at all of those DNR meetings, going through that, trying to get some relief for our farmers, our dairy guys and gals, our corn producers, all of these folks that irrigate. And I was invited on Wednesday to go join with the irrigators again because the DNR was there to beat them up. I walked into the room and the DNR guys all looked at me and went, oh no, he's back. And I was, and I'm there to defend these guys. I did it before in 2016. We were able to get them some relief. But right now I'm going to tell you, the DNR has drawn a map around the Little Rock Creek watershed. And they basically said, the DNR, they cannot come to a consensus on this. They don't want to be the bad guys. So they told all of these, there's about 60 farmers in this room, and they told them all, they said, you know what, here's the problem area that we think is the problem. Here's 21 farms. We think they should all shut down, and then we'll go away and everything will be fine. They want to pull the plug on 21 farmers. 21 family farms that have been in this community for, some of them for over 150 years. And I sat down with the irrigators, I sat down with these guys, and they said, Jim, we really need you back. I understand this issue. I understand what it takes to fight the DNR, and I can guarantee you, the DNR does not want you to vote for me. They don't want me in there. The irrigators are asking for me to come back. Not that I'm a better guy than anybody else. It's just that I signed up early on to take this issue on, and I understand it, and this is really deep into my heart. We ought to defend our farmers, because if we don't, what's next? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brent, this question is a little bit more of a sort of a wedge issue for a lot of people. And there's laws restricting abortion in South Dakota, Texas, and Florida right now. And so I'd like you to share your sensibility on the subject of human life before birth. And I'm sorry if I didn't have that in your thing. Do you identify as a pro-life or pro-abortion choice, and how does that stance affect the way you would govern as a senator?
I'm gonna get my glasses because I need this for. It's actually an excellent question, and I did have something here I wanted to share with all of you on this. First and foremost, it didn't come out right away, but I am pro-life. And I say that I'm pro-life from conception until end of life. And if you were here at the convention, I also said that I have a 100-year-old mother-in-law, and my mother turns 90 years old, and my wife and I are primary caretakers of both of them at times. We share family responsibilities there, but end of life is just as important, and we can't forget that. One of the things with abortion is the Minnesota Supreme Court ruling in Doe versus Gomez, and that is where public funding has been going to abortion. Something I got from MCCL recently was that there were 3,422 more abortions in 2020. That's a lot. That's from the state of Minnesota. Over $1 million was spent regarding abortions, and Planned Parenthood is a recipient of those funds here. As a proud Republican, as a Catholic Christian, I am pro-life. And my voting record will show when I am in the Senate that I am pro-life. I don't think that you're going to see any difference from me moving forward regarding that. And it's one of those things that you either believe in or you don't believe in, and I am pro-life. And I don't think that we should be taking our taxpayer dollars and having that go to fund abortions. So I don't know if that was all the question, but I'm out of time too, so.
Excellent, thank you. Appreciate your answer. Nathan, this will be the last of our individual questions. The Minnesota Pollution Control Agency wants to raise Minnesota's carbon emission standards in cars and farm equipment from national standards to the pollution to California, particularly strict, higher than everyone else's emission standards. Put hardship on car dealerships, manufacturers of internal combustion engines like Toro lawnmowers, gas-powered lawn tools, leaf blowers, chainsaws. Are you in favor of this unelected committee in our state of regulators exerting their power on private citizens and business owners in Minnesota by arbitrarily picking winners and losers? And how would you remedy that situation?
No, we can't be doing that. We need the California emission standards are ridiculous. We can't be regulating like that. It's hurting people in their pocketbooks, and we can't afford to do that right now. And really, are the greenhouse emissions what they say they are? We don't know. Like I said, I'm a wildlife biologist. I had classes in school that talk about geology, and is what's really going on in the greenhouse a ecological thing, or is it political? Or maybe it's in both. How do we know what's going on? So we can't be doing this to people. It's hurting our pocketbooks. And what we could do to maybe lower gas prices is have American oil again. Because when Biden became president, he said we have to stop American oil and made it about environmentalism and it's polluting the environment. Well, that wasn't the case. We stopped producing American oil, and then we started giving it to people overseas so they could put it right back in their pocketbooks, or wallet, whatever. So let's make American oil that'll create American jobs. It'll bring down gas prices. It'll help everybody, and that'll be like a tax cut right there. And that's what we need to do. We can't be regulating every small gas engine, every car. It hurts the dealerships that are forced to have these cars on their lots that might not sell. What are they supposed to do with them, and where's that money going to go? Or where are those cars going to go if they can't sell them? And now they're losing money. So I got 30 seconds left. I can tell a quick story about electric cars maybe. I do have some friends who are firefighters, and when they go to pull people out of a ditch in these electric cars, they're full, the batteries are everywhere and you don't know where they are. So they have to unplug each battery, and all that time that it takes, like, people can literally die. So if they're gonna do this, maybe they should have an off switch to this, but we're not there yet is what I guess I'm trying to say. This technology is good, it's not bad, but we have to wait until we're there and we can't force it, so.
Thank you very much. $48,250 per year. That is the salary that you'll receive as a state senator, and actually $20 more than those representatives when it comes to a daily per diem of $86. Food, lodging, during the session, compliments of the public. So right now you each have, once again, as we did for the representatives, 60 seconds for your own campaign commercial. Please summarize in the next 1 minute why voters of your district should vote for you to be their next senator in St. Paul. And we'll start with you, Jim.
I want to thank everyone for being here. My name is Jim Newberger, and I'm hoping to earn your support and to earn your respect and to be your next state senator. We'll know next Friday night when everyone comes to the endorsing convention. I am a proven conservative, and many of you know me. I have a heart for this district. I really have a heart for this district. I've served it before. One of the things I've never talked about, Sherco Power Plant. In 2013, I sat on the House floor when they passed their environmental bill and they shut down our power plant, shut it down. That was economic death for our region. For 4 years, I fought with Senator Brown and Senator Matthews, and I got Governor Dayton to sign a bill to build a new gas plant. Walz has come along and he's pulled the plug on that. Why? Because they're afraid of the protests to run the natural gas in so that we can have that. They are going to put thousands of acres of useless solar in instead, and they're going to build the new gas plant in North Dakota and ship the power back to Minnesota. I want a piece of that. I'm not done yet. As your next state senator, I can make a difference day one. That's my promise. I will work hard for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, Brent, if you can share your time and your minute, tell us why we should elect you to be our next state senator for this district.
All right, my name is Brent Lindgren, and I'm running for Senate District 10. I'm a 50-year resident of this district. I live in Morrison County. I'm pro-life. I support the Second Amendment. Obviously, I'm pro-law enforcement. I'm fiscally conservative, and I support less regulation. I just wanted to touch base on that less regulation. We heard a little bit about the farmers here. I joined a group a couple years ago, and that was the Morrison County Planning Commission and the Morrison County Board of Adjustment. The reason I did that was because the regulations are so tough at even the county level that you have a farmer that can't build a feedlot because he's got a neighbor that built the house too close. You have a neighbor that wants to build a house but can't because the farmer has a tier 2 feedlot and has a 1,000-foot setback. These are problems that face us in the county government. And I sit on that board and try and find ways to deregulate that so that we can have harmony in our small community. That's a minute.
That's a minute.
What the heck? All right. Thank all of you for being here. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to serving you in the Senate next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. And finally, Nathan, 60 seconds to let us know why we should elect you to be our next senator in District 10.
That was me, Doug Hunting. You see yelled in commercial start with ducks flying over, pheasants or something. My name's Nathan Wesenberg, and I've been fighting hard for you right now. I've been affected by what's happened over the last 2 years and how our government's been failing, and I'm not going to wait till I am elected senator. I'm fighting for you right now, and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to be the voice for the people. And that's what I do. I listen to people. I ask people, what do we need? And they tell me, so that's what we do. I have people come to my meetings, and we talk, and we figure out what needs to happen, and we decide what needs to happen right now. So if you elect me, I will listen to you. I will fight for your rights, and I will fight for our constitutional rights. And yeah, I'll be a good fighter for you. That's it. Thank you.
10 seconds to go. Nathan Wesenberger, Brent Lindgren, Jim Newberger, ladies and gentlemen, your Senate candidate. Thank you.